I'm Ken Rockwell with KenRockwell.com here on KenRockwell.tv. Let's take a quick look at the Canon EOS R50, which is a very tiny, lightweight, and inexpensive mirrorless camera. How small is it? It fits in the palm of my hand. With a neck strap, it feels like a toy. It almost feels too small to put on a neck strap because it's just tiny. It weighs nothing. It's almost all out of plastic except the parts that need it, like the metal lens mount. What really astounds me about this is just how incredibly good the pictures look. They're sharp and clear and bold and colorful, identical to what I get from my full-frame professional Canon cameras. When you shoot them down at ISO 100, which is where you should, the results are amazing. Here's just one sample. Now this is a Ferrari, and you can see the colors and the sharpness. And as I'm zooming in here, I'm going to zoom in on one of the lug nuts rather than the sidewall of the tire. If you go to my original website at kenrockwell.com, and the link is in the description, you can download all the original files and see this and a whole lot more. Original files and photos and so forth. But as I zoom in, you'll see that we're getting to this. This shot is actually made with the 18 to 45 millimeter IS-STM RF lens, which is the small little kit lens, set to 27 millimeters at f6.3 at 100th of a second. And what you'll see is, this is me. This is me reflected in the shiny chrome lug nut of this Ferrari. And you can see me crouching down, taking the picture with my little baby EOS R50. It really impressed me when I saw just how great the pictures were, and that's really all I can say. The ISO performance, it's not quite as stellar as a full-frame camera if you're shooting at ISO 51,000, but so what? You shouldn't do that. If you're shooting at 51,000, you're doing something wrong. Honestly, the picture quality is identical to the R10 and R7, which cost twice as much. The resolution difference between 30 megapixels and 24 really doesn't matter. You can see my article on the megapixel myth at the links in my description. And everything else, colors, exposure, high ISO performance, is identical to the R7 that cost twice as much. And how do I know? I've tested it. It's on my website. You can see the sample files for yourself. What does this do as well? It's got a built-in flash, which is very helpful for either firing off the studio strobes in my studio or as a fill flash. Always makes people look better in daylight and other harsh light. What you lose for the low price is not picture quality. Picture quality is surprisingly superb. What you lose is convenience features. There's no sensor cleaner. There's no C1, C2, C3 positions here, but that makes sense because what they put instead are some more basic things like scene modes and automatic modes and other automatic modes for the kind of people who are actually going to buy this camera. You also have no rear control dial. That's a little weird for me. I'm always used to having a rear control dial to control certain things. So for instance, in manual exposure, this is for aperture, this is for shutter speed, but there is no this back here. So what you have to do is hold another button to do that. So it's a little more cumbersome. If you really know what you're doing, let's face it, if you do know what you're doing, you probably want a more expensive camera. But honestly, this is just so much fun to carry around and make such great looking pictures. Okay, here's another picture. Twist my arm. Look at all the detail in this. Normally, I spot off all the dust on these sorts of pictures just by habit, but if I don't spot the dust, I mean, you can see every speck of dust on this recently detailed BMW V8 power plant, and it's just incredible how sharp this is. This is also with the little kit lens, 18 millimeters at f7.1 at a 25th of a second, handheld at auto ISO 100. This picture here of an old Corvette's emblem, likewise is made with the kit lens at 45 millimeters at f8 at a 1/25th, also at ISO 100. And everything just looks magnificent. It's got the same look as I get from all my other Pro Canons, which I love. One gotcha is this is just something Canon's going to with the newer cameras. It doesn't have a standard hot shoe anymore. There's no standard connections. What it has is the newer, supposedly better, a 21-pin digital parallel connector here, which lets you slap in things like microphones and so forth with perfect audio fidelity. The problem is your older flashes won't work unless you get the adapter that adapts this to the one that has the normal contacts. And again, the links to all that are in my review at the link at my description here. Thank you again very much for watching Ken Rockwell and KenRockwell.com on KenRockwell.tv.